Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history. May 17th is one of those dates where power keeps proving the same depressing thesis. It feels permanent right up until mud, rain, paperwork, or television lighting gets involved. Segment 1, and empires meet their mud puddles. Let's begin with the ancient diplomatic art of looking at a terrible situation and saying, what if we made the terrain do half the fighting? In 1395, at the Battle of Rovine, Voivode Mircea the Elder faced Sultan Bayezid I, known as the Thunderbolt, which is a fantastic nickname if you win and a weather warning if you don't. Bayezid brought a huge Ottoman army into Wallachia, expecting the classic imperial experience. Show up, overwhelm everyone, leave with territory and a flattering painting. Mircea had far fewer men, so he did not choose a fair fight, because fair fights are what powerful people request when they already own the scoreboard. He used marshes, forests, narrow passages, and local knowledge to turn Bayezid's army into a traffic jam with swords. The Ottomans had cavalry, numbers, and confidence. Wallachia had mud, arrows, and the home field advantage of knowing which swamp ruins a horse's entire worldview. Legend says Mircea even entered the Ottoman camp disguised as an emissary and offered Bayezid safe passage home, the medieval version of last chance to exit the group chat. Bayezid said no, because empire has never heard a warning it couldn't misinterpret as applause. The result was a tactical humiliation that proved a massive war machine can still stall when it drives straight into a wet forest run by angry locals. Segment 2, and courts where family is a liability. From battlefield arrogance, we move to court politics, which is basically a swamp with better hats. On May 17, 1536, 5 men connected to Queen Anne Boleyn were executed on Tower Hill. George Boleyn, Henry Norris, Francis Weston, William Brereton, and Mark Smeaton. Their real crime was being close to Anne at the exact moment King Henry VIII needed a new wife, a male heir, and a legal system flexible enough to do yoga in a furnace. Thomas Cromwell helped engineer the purge, and the accusations came with the full Tudor buffet: adultery, treason, conspiracy, and the general offense of becoming inconvenient near a monarch with neck access issues. George Boleyn's fall was especially brutal because he was Anne's brother, a powerful courtier, and apparently still under the tragic impression that status protected you from Henry's marital recycling program. Less than a month earlier, George expected honor. Instead, he got a trial judged by peers, including his own uncle, who helped pronounce sentence. That is not family drama. That is Thanksgiving hosted by the executioner. The convictions also built the legal scaffold around Anne herself. Once the men were declared guilty, Anne entered her trial with the state already holding the ending in its pocket. Henry's court sold itself as divine order. But on May 17th, it looked more like a monarchy running on fear, lust, paperwork, and a suspiciously busy axe. Segment 3, and weather, war, and the fine print of bad planning. If Henry VIII shows what happens when power controls the courtroom, the Battle of Kanauj shows what happens when power forgets to check the weather. In 1540, Mughal Emperor Humayun faced Sher Shah Suri near the Ganges, with more men, more resources, and superior artillery. Unfortunately, Humayun moved his army onto lower ground right before monsoon rains arrived, which makes you wonder whether his advisors were generals or decorative cousins. The rain soaked the camp, ruined the black powder, and turned the Mughal artillery into expensive lawn furniture. Sher Shah waited until the mighty machine became a damp warehouse of regret, then struck. Humayun's army collapsed, helped by cowardly commanders, bad appointments, and brothers whose family motto seemed to be, "Best of luck with your disaster." Centuries later, Operation Chastise showed the opposite version of planning: precise, brilliant, and morally complicated. In 1943, RAF pilots flew modified Lancaster bombers at 60 feet above the water to drop Barnes-Wallace's spinning, bouncing bomb against German dams. It sounds like a drunk dare from a physics department. Skip a 9,000-pound cylinder across a reservoir and explode it underwater. The raid boosted British morale, but it also killed civilians and enslaved laborers below. May 17th gives us both sides of military genius. One army defeated because nobody respected rain, and one mission remembered for brilliant design while carrying the ugly receipt of total war. Segment 4 in markets, horses, and machines nobody was ready for. Not every revolution arrives with a cannon. Sometimes it arrives under a tree, on a racetrack, or as a corroded lump everyone ignores because it does not look expensive enough yet. In 1792, 24 brokers signed the Buttonwood Agreement under a tree on Wall Street, creating the roots of what became the New York Stock Exchange. The whole document was only 2 sentences long because apparently modern finance began as a gentleman's pact in the dirt. They wanted fixed commissions, exclusive trading, and fewer shady auctioneers manipulating prices, meaning Wall Street was born when powerful men looked at chaos and said, what if we organize it, charge admission, and call it trust? In 1875, the first Kentucky Derby ran at what became Churchill Downs, with Aristides winning under Oliver Lewis, a young black jockey. That matters because black horsemen dominated early American racing before Jim Crow pushed them out of the industry they helped build. In 1902, Valerio Stace noticed gear teeth inside the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient astronomical computer so advanced that experts first treated it like a historical typo. Finance under a tree, a black jockey at the birth of the Derby, and a computer pulled from the sea all point to one truth. History keeps hiding sophistication in places powerful people are trained not to respect. Segment 5 and rights, reckonings, and the cameras turning on. The modern stretch of May 17th is where institutions start getting dragged into daylight, sometimes by courts, sometimes by cameras, and sometimes by the public refusing to swallow the official story. In 1954, Brown versus Board of Education declared school segregation unconstitutional, rejecting the fiction that separate but equal was anything other than inequality wearing a rented suit. Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote plainly, separating children by race was injuring them, and America could not keep selling democracy abroad while maintaining apartheid at home. In 1973, the Watergate Senate hearings began, and Americans watched misconduct unfold on live television, the rare daytime programming where the plot twist was the president may have taped himself doing crimes. In 1980, after an all-white jury acquitted officers in the killing of Arthur McDuffie, Miami erupted, exposing how police violence and legal impunity had turned public trust into dry timber. By 1990, the World Health Organization removed homosexuality from its list of mental diseases. And in 2004, Massachusetts issued the first same-sex marriage licenses in the United States on that exact same date. That is the arc. From being pathologized by institutions to being legally recognized by one. May 17th does not offer neat progress. It offers pressure, denial, backlash, and then, occasionally, justice making a sound almost like movement. In conclusion, May 17th is history's reminder that power usually believes it is permanent. Right before the swamp, the scaffold, the storm cloud, the stockbroker, the Supreme Court, or the live television camera proves otherwise.